So welcome. We are initiating ourselves to visit the essential features of justice delivery system in the context of state of Haryana. We have a very short period of time, 50 years. And so evaluation and having a comprehensive view is not difficult, and it will be much easy and educative and will be much fruitful if we will have a comprehensive view of it. Today, I am focusing upon the deviations over this period of time in practice from the law. The legal provisions, as these are, the demarcation of the powers, authorities, and responsibilities in law are different, and in practice, things are going much deviated. It is this deviation which is responsible for many things. Now, see, criminal law, there is a final report under Section 173 CRPC, and in civil law, the evidence through affidavits has become a law now. See, the criminal report under Section 173 is the responsibility of the SHO. However, the number of SHOs means number of police stations are small, so one officer is not in a position to do this duty. So what is happening? Any IO, maybe head constable, maybe ASI, or maybe anybody or who has done, say, only very, very small part of investigations, and he being the last investigating officer, so he prepares the report. The responsibility vested by law is that the SHO, the senior most officer in charge of the police station, will apply his mind, use his experience, his wisdom, and know many things, and then he will prepare a report. Now, the fact is, word written is forward. Now, the word forward now in practice has become just to write forward and sign it. The report is to be prepared. The authority and responsibility under law to prepare the final report is being not discharged, and everything has come down to just technical formality. And sometimes, if it is critically examined, it will be seen that even forward word and the signature beneath are not of the SHO. So anybody, it whole mockery has been made. The life, liberty of an individual is concerned, the rights of the victim are concerned, whole justice delivery system of the criminal domain, in fact, now has gone in such absurd technicalities and formalities that anybody, howsoever ignorant, howsoever irresponsible, he prepares a report and signs it by writing forward on behalf of the SHO. And then there is a provision that every Zimni, means daily progress in the investigation, whenever is put before the magistrate, the same is to be signed by the magistrate. Why this rule? Number one, it is not changed subsequently. Secondly, the magistrate as the supervisory officer is having intimate knowledge of the way case is progressing and way things are taking shape. However, Ziminis are neither put nor those are signed. That means the investigating officers, whosoever he becomes, he is not an SHO. So entire documentation on the basis of which initiation of trial is to take place, in terms of which justice is to be delivered, is in the false, absolutely false foundations. Now see, there is also a provision that state prosecutor, the district attorney, or additional district attorney, whosoever is the prosecutor, say distributed court-wise or police station-wise, he is to examine and forward it. Here as well, this responsibility is being not discharged. It is absolutely false. So when we are thinking of that individual litigants' plight, individual litigants' plight is very miserable, though on the face of it there is a camouflage, there is a complete camouflage, there is a word forward written and some signatures put therein as if of the SHO. There is a signature of the public prosecutor written it as forward. But in practice, in reality, this is farce. This is false. Once this foundation is false, then we can understand what ultimately is the state of the justice which is going to be delivered further. Now, who is the investigating officer? If a police officer is party to, say, discovery, then he is a witness. He is not an investigating officer. There should be somebody else, some another officer as investigating officer who will examine and record the statement of the police officer in whose presence or through him the search etc. has been done or arrest etc. has been done. No, this is being not done. The one who is a witness for a discovery becomes the investigating officer, and the everything now see in doldrums. See, if we go to the civil procedure, here now it is provided that evidence is to be recorded, evidence is to be given on affidavits. Now, who drafts the affidavits? Naturally, the liar. So, the plaint drafted by a liar and the contents of the plaint put in the affidavit of the witnesses. So, the natural state of mind, the natural expression, the natural knowledge, the natural wisdom, natural experience, etc. of the witness as such are get channelized, polished, shaped by the counsel on the format of the plaint itself. So anyway, affidavit is there. Now, when there is a question of cross-examination, means the recording of the statement, now the law has become that it can be done through a commission. And the cross-examination essentially is also to cover the demeanors of the witnesses. But the commissions, the local commissions, the junior liars, or anybody else put in the duty of a commission is not competent. And if we have the practical situation and if we evaluate the way the evidence is being recorded by the commissions, then again it will put us in a halt and it will give us an visit as if things are being not in accordance with the law. So the plight of the litigant on the side of criminal is in the hands of one head constable ASI as investigating officer. On the other hand, the plight is left in the hands of the evidence on affidavits being cross-examined through the commissions. So the quantity and quality as such is at clash. The excuse being taken for this deviated situations is that there is a rush of work, there is a less manpower, but whatsoever may be, the quality is being sacrificed. Law is being absolutely deviated. Therefore, if we still ignore it, if we say we will not evaluate it, if we say that we have not to see this reality, then naturally we are shutting our eyes to the injustice being caused at each and every step, in each and every case. Now, in this context, it also would be relevant to take note that the language of the witness is of a local dialects. Evidence is to be recorded in the language of the witness. Then let us take it in a local dialect. Then translation is to be done in a court language. Say trial court, it is Hindi. Then it is to be retranslated in language of the appellate court. It is English. Now see, at each stage, how much deviation is taking place in practice. The real, truthful scenery is painted absolutely in different colors, in black shades. Then there is section 167 of the Indian Evidence Act. It is one section and it is a complete chapter in Indian Evidence Act. It is the last section. And one section making a complete chapter. What is provided in it? That if the evidence is not permitted to be relevant, if it is rejected or accepted on the point of relevancy, no appeal is permissible. So who is to decide no relevancy? Here in the context, by a commission. How much commission is trained, and once particular piece of evidence is accepted or rejected wrongly, unlawfully, there is no provision for appeal. Once this is the hard frame of law on the one hand, and there are diluted provisions on the plea of rush of work, more quantity of work, lesser number of courts, more litigations, we have to draw a balance in it. In this context, I would like that let us be through the professional career as a judge of Sir Shadi Lal. Sir Shadi Lal was born in 1874 in one of the villages of district Rewari, previously district Rohtak. Imagine in 1874, one child born in this remote village area of Haryana, and see where he has risen. He has become the first Chief Justice of the High Court, to whom we are at present succeeding. And he was even elevated as judge of a Privy Council. Now, if we are through his diaries and through his judgments, then it would be very blissful to take note that in those days when there were typewriters even not there, judgments were being written in hand, and his judgments are of one paragraph, at the most of 1 page, and the longest judgment is of 2 pages. And none of his judgments has been overruled. All these judgments are binding upon us. These are available with us. These are in very beautiful language written. So summing up a whole situation of facts and law, and some contrary submissions of both parties, and becoming a final judgment as 1 paragraph, as 1 page, as 2 pages. So how much is to be learned? At present, without commenting upon anything, the size of the judgments is as big as could be one truck load of the papers, as if the newspapers are flowing, newspapers are being carried. Now, entire plaint is being reproduced, entire written statement is being reproduced, entire evidence is being reproduced, and the evaluation part is absolutely practically nil. So, need is that we shall educate ourselves as liars. We are officers of the court. No, the liar's position has been reduced in court as if they are insignificant before the ego of the presiding officers. How to deal with this situation is the challenge. How to ensure the ignorant, illiterate, innocent litigants that they are being given a justice delivery system of the ideals of the Constitution of India. What the need is to chase from where the deviation begins and see how the deviation is causing such distorted situation at present. If we say that only by writing for petitions to the persons who will reform or going to the legislature is no answer. Answer really is that each and every liar, each and every citizen is to educate himself and is to demand and press the justice. Wherever there is deviation, it is not to be tolerated. Ignoring, tolerating these deviations, encouraging these deviations, justifying these deviations, in my opinion, is no answer. We have to start afresh. We have to start reading. We have to start making ourselves knowledgeable. We have to be courageous. We have to face it. And each one of us is to face up. It is no individual in a position will be to contribute that much, as much is the expectation need of the situation in which we have placed ourselves over these 54 years. I'm just talking of Haryana simply as it is going to be a concrete framework within which analysis will be possible. And moreover, in the age group in which we are having intimate flow of this time period before our eyes, and so we can very well appreciate them. However, the scope of inquiry, when spread to the entire country, could be there, but it could be by some larger groups. Small groups and individuals have to take concrete situations, and in my opinion, it is proper choice of ours that we shall scan this 54 years time period. And it is only by having case of it, we may be in a position to visualize, to absorb, to grasp, and to evaluate how much deviation stands caused in practice from the ideals of the law. Thank you very much.
Sir, is it possible that we can at least in this group we can study few 4-5 judgments of Sir Shadi Lal?
Yes, I have the entire book. That's all right. We can read it. May I read one paragraph? One judgment of one paragraph. Yes. Let me read one paragraph.
Maybe let us see how we could write all the judgments in such a small paragraph.
Yes. Beautiful. There is large number of situations. I'm reading one judgment. It is AIR 1926 Lahore 135. Farshadi Law. An ex parte decree was granted to the plaintiff on 7th January 1920, and it was not until 21st February 1923 the defendants made an application for an order to set aside the ex parte decree. Now, summons were duly served upon the defendants, and the terminus qua under Act Article 164 of the Limitation Act is the date of the decree. The application to give the decree set aside was consequently barred by time. The learned judge of the lower court is, however, of the opinion that he can evade the law of limitation by acting under Section 151 CAPC. The view is entirely erroneous. Where a definite period of limitation has been prescribed by law within which action could be taken, a court is not entitled to extend such period by taking out Section 151 of Code of Criminal Procedure. If any authority were needed on this subject, I would refer to the judgment of the Patna High Court, then named written. I accordingly accept the application for revision and dismiss the application made by the defendant for setting aside the ex parte decree. Defendants must pay the costs incurred by the plaintiff in this court as well as in the court of the first instance. Now, you see, like that, entire judgments, you see, there are more than 1,000 judgments.
But sir, this judgment was not on merit. This judgment was not on merit. This was only on the law point. Maybe there are other. I have just picked up one page. Any judgment in any paragraphs, when it will be seen, yes, even the murder judgments, murder charge judgments. Not only this, even murder charges. See the complete order, Farshadi Lal, Chief Justice. Now, the second appeal must fail on the short ground that there was no valid presentation of the appeal before the memorandum of appeal was not accompanied by a copy of judgment of the High Court of the first instance. Rule 2 of 42 CPC, which has been framed by this court under the provisions of Section 122 Civil Procedure Code, require that in addition to the copy supplied by in order so and so, and is disposed of. Question only is, when we ignore the rules and we say, all right, it will be pardoned. It's no. You have to follow the law. You have to follow the rules. You have to follow the procedure. You have to take the steps. No provision is permitted to be deviated. And it is in second appeal. The judgment is in second appeal. In first appeal, second appeal. And second appeal is to be on law. Now, at present, what is being done in second appeal here? These are not being done on law. Even facts are being taken. So it is deviation. And these deviations has to be appreciated. I will send you this book. This is written by No, I have this. I have this book, sir. You have given me, sir.
Now, if we through this book, and so how much paper would be saved, how much time would be saved, how much energy would be saved, how best appreciation of law it is, and many things to be learned. And like that, we can have the judgments of other judges as well.
Yes, sir.
Okay.